It's been about 3 weeks since we were here. A lot has changed. But before we get into that, do you know this plant? There's so much of it growing here. And I remember when we were young, we liked playing with it. When you touch it, it folds its leaves. We always loved to play with it when we were little kids. I'm just so glad that it is growing right here in my home. I could spend hours touching and playing and watching it fold its leaves. I'm still on the journey to self-sufficiency, and one of the rules of being self-sufficient is having zero or very minimal waste. It is that season when most flowers are blooming and my roses are not left out. Unfortunately, a lot of it is going to waste. Once they go into full bloom, they just fall on the ground and get wasted. So I decided to do a research on how to use rose flowers, and I came up with very beautiful ideas of how to use the flowers. I actually didn't know they were edible. So stay tuned and see what we will do with the roses at some point in the video. For now, let's go picking all the flowers. I may not have exhausted my research, so if you have or if you know ways to use rose flowers, please share the ideas. I'd be glad to try them. We have a lot of roses even back at home, and I'm just wondering what to do with all of them. Can you see how beautiful my flower island looks today? Everything is in full bloom. Do you see the mums? They look gorgeous. Look at all the rose petals lying on the ground. This could have been put into some use, but now that I know, there will be no more wastage. The best time to harvest anything is in the morning hours and in the evenings. The African sun gets so hot and it's just so hard to harvest vegetables or just any greens at midday. Whenever I take a long time before visiting my home, there's just always so much to do. I really enjoy working on my homestead, so I don't leave everything to the farmhand. I'm heading out to the garden now, and I realized I get allergies whenever I walk through different plants like maize or sugarcane. So I make sure to wear gloves and a long sleeved clothing to protect my skin. It is shocking how much of a difference just 3 weeks can make. When I left here, the maize was so young, though they had started to fruit. I did not expect to find it this way. The maize are ready, and my farmhand has been enjoying the maize. Today, I want to take on a very unique task, something I don't usually do. My mother grows sugarcane at home, so she taught me how to grow the sweetest sugarcane. And I'm going to be sharing this tip with you today. As the sugarcane grows taller, it will form the rings, and while it forms the rings, you will notice that the leaves dry up from the bottom upwards. I think the name sugarcane comes from its sweetness, so they are meant to be very sweet. When the leaves start drying up, it's always important that you strip them off the cane, and when the cane gets that direct sunlight, then you will end up with very sweet sugarcane. To be honest, I didn't know my sugarcane had formed so many rings. It was all covered in those dry leaves and I didn't know what was lying underneath. Just look how tall my sugarcane have grown. Of course, I feel very happy today. So when I say gardening is fulfilling, this is what I mean. That process of watching just a tiny sprout grow into food you can harvest and actually eat is so fulfilling. Quite therapeutic too. And one thing I've learned in gardening is patience. The patience of waiting for a tiny seed to turn into abundance. Gardening or growing a garden is not easy. It takes a lot of time and energy. You will get exhausted, you will wait, but the results are always amazing. I'm not only exposing my sugarcane to direct sunlight, I'm also making my garden look neat. And you won't believe how beautiful, how neat my sugarcane patch looks after this. Sugarcane multiplies very fast, and from just one stem you can get a lot of sugarcane and it will occupy a very big space. That's the reason I gave it just a small patch, because I know it's gonna spread all around. Take a look at the sugarcane patch now. You can see how clear, how the sun is now penetrating the garden. We are done with that task. So now let me show you some of the development we have in our garden. You won't believe this. These are slender leaf seeds. We will let them dry, then we shall save them for our next gardening season. You all remember the bell peppers we planted just 3 weeks ago. These things grow so fast. They really amaze me. They're already fruiting and we have lots of flowers coming up and things just look amazing. These are the things that put a smile on my face, especially after that rough season we've gone through. Our onions didn't turn out 100%, but here we are. We have lots of onions growing. Some died in between, but here we are. The rain was too much, but I'm glad we have something. The few pineapple crowns we planted look like they've reached the stage where they're just about to fruit. I'm so excited about this. I can't wait. The last time I checked, our cassava was just sprouting, and look how tall they are now. I poured some wood ash on our broccoli. Remember, it's the first time we are doing broccoli, and I just noticed that there's some bugs eating up the leaves. I always try to keep my garden very organic. That's why I use wood ash instead of pesticides. I'm also trying coriander again after I lost the other ones to heavy rains. And I'm just picking out the weeds. They look good, but their color is not deep green. I don't know why. I think I will just be adding some manure to it, and I hope that helps. Our chilies are finally fading out. I've noticed some of the stems are drying up, and I've just put new ones in a nursery bed, and we will be planting those ones very soon. When I left here 2 weeks ago, we had just tiny bits of papaya, and I'm so happy to see them looking this big today. We have a small chili harvest compared to the other days. Let's check up on the chickens. I don't have as many eggs as I expected, but it's okay. I share them with my farmhand and he now has a wife, so no problem. And remember, I brought in 2 kienyeji hens, which are also laying eggs, and I expect them to be sleeping on their eggs very soon. So I'll just pick out the larger eggs, which are for the layers. Apparently they are laying together. I'll have to get them a new nest when they start brooding. So the eggs I'm leaving behind are the eggs of the kienyeji, that is the indigenous chicken, and they're the ones that sleep on their eggs. Their eggs are a bit tiny in size compared to the ones for the layers. I don't usually wash my eggs because if I wash them, I will be forced to refrigerate, and I love to use my eggs at room temperature. So I just store them the way they are. Let's now deal with the roses. I will be sharing with you this simple recipe that I got while doing my research on how to make jam at home using your rose flowers. I hope you find this useful because I know there are so many of us growing rose flowers at home and you just don't know what to do with them. To be honest, I can't quite remember my class 4 science where we were taught the parts of a flower, but I guess the parts that I'm separating from this main stalk is the petal. So you're going to carefully pull out the petals. Of course, checking for bugs. If there are any, you will remove them. You don't want to cook the bugs, it's so disgusting. So I'm carefully checking if there are any bugs that have sneaked into my petals, and then I will wash them. When washing, just make sure you give it a lot of water so that if you have any bugs, then you can easily see them. They always float. I'm washing my flowers in just plain water. I usually like to add a bit of salt or bicarbonate of soda to remove the bugs. But since we're making jam, I'm just using pure water. Once washed, we are now going to strain it so that we remove all the excess water. And once all the water has dripped out, we're going to pour it in a bowl bit by bit and then add some sugar on top of it and then layer it with another layer of the petals or the flowers and then sugar again, and then you continue doing that until all the flowers are done. We are then going to add juice of 1 or 2 lemons or lime. You can also use citric acid. I just love to use things or ingredients in their natural forms. Then we are giving it a good mix. You just keep turning it over until you feel it's all mixed, and then we are going to let it sit for about 6 hours. After 6 hours, we are now going to add water. The amount of water will depend on the quantity of your flowers. We are then going to add sugar. The sugar will also depend on the quantity of your flowers, and then we are going to give it a good stir and let it boil. While stirring, just ensure all the sugar is dissolved. And once it starts to boil, then you can bring in your flowers that have been sitting for about 6 hours. And you're going to reduce the heat to medium and let it cook slowly. I allowed mine to cook for 20 minutes while stirring it from time to time until it is fully cooked. At this point, I feel my flowers are well cooked, so it is time to remove it from the heat. You can leave it as it is, but I choose to blend mine just to break those flowers into small pieces. A hand blender would have been great, but I don't have one, so I'm just gonna try to use the regular blender to break it down. This is just to make it easy to spread on bread whenever you want to eat it, but it is also okay to spread it on your bread in this state. It's just like having some fruit pulp in your yogurt. And with those simple ingredients, just sugar, water, and the rose flowers, we have jam. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next.